The film starts by introducing Richie, a man in his middle years, and a retired leader from the Mafia, engaging in shooting practice. Although a British citizen, Richie resides in Spain, enjoying his retirement and a lavish lifestyle. Being a former Mafia leader sets Richie apart as an unconventional individual. His opulent residence reflects the affluence he has amassed over the years. During lunch that day, Richie and his daughter Carmen share a meal, and he expresses his yearning for his elder brother, Charlie, who resides in England. The narrative then shifts to Charlie reminiscing about Richie in the past while conversing with some friends. Simultaneously, Charlie receives a call from Richie in Spain. The phone conversations between the siblings reveal their deep longing for each other. After the call from Richie, Charlie rejoins his friends. At the same time, Lizzie, Richie's acquaintance, approaches Charlie, seeking Richie's contact information, as she has harbored an interest in him for quite some time. Realizing that she's the perfect match for Richie, Charlie eventually agrees to play Cupid and shares his phone number. Meanwhile, Aaron and Lauren, strolling through a quiet London street, face a troubling situation. Aaron, a leader of a gang, reveals his deceitful plan to subject Lauren to the aggression of his gang in a narrow alley, capturing their actions on video. Dean, one of the gang members, tries to intervene, but Aaron thwarts him until Charlie arrives, drawn by the commotion behind the bar. Observing the gang about to harass a woman, Charlie intervenes, urging Lauren to leave and reprimanding the group. In response, they insult Charlie, prompting him to retaliate. Aaron, offended, orders his gang to attack Charlie brutally. Shortly after, Lizzie, who had just left the bar in search of Charlie, is shocked to discover her friend lying lifeless in an alley nearby. On that very night, Lizzie informed two detectives, Susan Taylor and John, about what had happened. Unfortunately, Susan and John couldn't apprehend Aaron and his gang due to insufficient proof. Furthermore, Lizzie didn't witness the incident directly, she only saw the gang exiting the narrow alley where Charlie was discovered lifeless. Subsequently, she shared the news of Charlie's demise with Richie, who, upon hearing it, appeared devastated and planned to return to England. The narrative then shifts to the police detectives, Susan and John, approaching Aaron and his gang, warning of imminent arrests and incarceration if they were found guilty of Charlie's murder. However, Aaron appeared to deny the accusations and chose to leave. Once the detectives departed, he instructed his friends to silence Lauren, who had witnessed their assault and harassment. Dean, aware of the scheme, discreetly visits her residence, warning Lauren about Aaron's impending threat and advising her to stay indoors for safety. Later, Aaron and a group of gang members show up at Lauren's house. Using the mail slot, he coerces her into silence, forbidding her from reporting the events to the police, and goes as far as threatening her life and that of her mother. Meanwhile, Richie arrives in England and promptly meets Roy, one of his associates. Seeking information about Charlie, Richie visits Lizzie's home, where she explains that she didn't witness the incident firsthand. However, she suspects the culprits behind Charlie's death are troublemaking gangsters frequenting London. Subsequently, Richie and Roy head to the crime scene where Charlie was killed and cross paths with Susan and John, who are conducting their investigation. Aware of Richie's esteemed past as a former Mafia leader, Susan suggests transferring the case to the police. Reluctant to hand over his brother's case to law enforcement, Richie eventually agrees to relinquish the investigation before departing the scene. Later at the bar, Lizzie updates Richie, revealing a video capturing Aaron and his gang harassing Lauren. She believes this video is linked to Charlie's death. Having knowledge of Lauren, Lizzie provides Richie with Lauren's workplace address. Subsequently, Richie questions Lauren about the events surrounding his brother's death. Feeling indebted to Charlie, Lauren finally discloses the incident's details in a quiet location near her workplace, identifying Aaron's local gang as the mastermind behind Charlie's murder. Unbeknownst to them, DK, a girl affiliated with Aaron's gang, observes Lauren sharing details about what happened to Charlie with others. DK returns to the gang's headquarters and informs Aaron that Lauren disclosed the incident to a man named Richie. Aaron, assuming Richie is an ordinary middle-aged man, appears relaxed and indifferent to the news. The narrative shifts to Richie and his former Mafia colleagues at Charlie's funeral. Shortly after, an elderly man named Arthur arrives. Richie playfully suggests Arthur leave, joking about his age. In response, Arthur, angered, claims he's the only one who nearly defeated Richie. Despite the jest, Richie and everyone else burst into laughter. Later, he expressed gratitude to Arthur for gathering his friends. Following the funeral, Richie encounters an old acquaintance, Jack, a retired police commissioner living modestly. Seeking Jack's assistance, Richie asks for information about Aaron and his gang. In exchange for Jack's help, Richie pledges to share some of his belongings to enhance Jack's retired life. A few days later, Jack provides information about some gang members, but unfortunately, details about Aaron, the leader, remain elusive. Armed with this information, Richie instructs his friends to abduct 2 gang members, Leroy and Ed. Disregarding the fact that the kidnappers were elderly, Leroy and Ed dismiss Richie's inquiries about Aaron's whereabouts, insulting Richie and his friends. They even go as far as threatening Richie and his companions without hesitation. They boldly threaten Richie and his friends. Observing this, Richie and his companions simply chuckled as the 2 young individuals they abducted seemed oblivious to their true identities from the past. When Ed insulted Charlie, Richie began to lose his temper. Upon hearing Richie's instructions, Arthur retrieved nails and hammers from his bag. Without hesitation, Arthur drove a nail into the back of Ed's hand. But it didn't end there. He then brought out a drill machine and started drilling into Ed's feet. Witnessing his friend undergoing such torture, Leroy suddenly felt panic. To avoid facing a similar fate, Leroy expressed his willingness to assist Richie, promising to lure Aaron out of hiding. Although Richie's friends were skeptical, Richie surprisingly agreed to Leroy's offer and released him. Once Leroy is released, he suddenly grabs a gun, intending to shoot Richie. However, before he can pull the trigger, Richie swiftly shoots Leroy dead, expressing his distrust in Leroy and emphasizing that he didn't want to kill an unarmed person. They all share a laugh again. Shortly after, as they prepare to interrogate Ed, he unexpectedly succumbs to the effects of their torture. Meanwhile, Aaron becomes agitated as 2 of his members mysteriously vanish, suspecting they fell victim to a rival gang attack. The following day, Richie revisits Lauren, offering assistance in locating the remaining members of Aaron's gang. Lauren discloses that a gang member named JB used to frequent the parking lot. Despite feeling guilty about continuing to involve Lauren, Richie finally requests her phone number. Unfortunately, before Lauren can provide her number, Detective Susan intervenes, attempting to shield her. Susan, who is revealed to be Lauren's mother, requests Richie not to involve her daughter. The scene then shifts to a parking lot where JB, upon spotting Arthur alone, perceives him as a frail old man and attempts to bully him. However, when Arthur brandishes a sword, JB, riding a bicycle, hastily pedals away. Unaware, a car stops in front of him, causing JB to fall. It turns out Richie's friends are driving the car, and Arthur's presence in the parking lot serves as a trap to ensnare JB. Subsequently, JB, abducted by Richie and his friends, is found tied and suspended in an abandoned building. Richie once again inquires about Aaron's whereabouts. Unfortunately, JB, who mocks them all, adamantly refuses to disclose any information about Aaron and his gang. He went as far as ridiculing Charlie in their presence, claiming Charlie resembled a foolish dog when they fatally beat him. Enraged by this, Richie retaliated by beating JB to death. Unfortunately, this triggered a recurrence of Richie's illness, leading to his hospitalization. Requiring treatment, Richie devises a plan to entice Aaron out of hiding. A few days later, it was observed that Aaron and his gang were arming themselves to counter potential attacks from rival gangs. Unexpectedly, Lauren arrives at the gang's headquarters. She reveals that all the missing gang members have been kidnapped and killed by Richie, adding that Richie is currently hospitalized. During their conversation, Lauren receives a call from her mother, and Aaron advises her to answer it to avoid arousing Susan's suspicion. After Lauren discloses everything to Aaron, he and his gang members go to the hospital, taking her as a hostage. Aaron instructs his members to disperse and locate Richie's room. Soon after, 2 gang members locate Richie's room and shoot at the bed, assuming Richie is there. Unbeknownst to them, Richie and his friends appear from behind and retaliate with gunfire. While in the elevator, Aaron hears the gunshots and realizes Richie has thwarted his plan. Growing suspicious, he checks Lauren's phone, discovering that she and Richie had orchestrated a scheme to frame him and his gang. Feeling betrayed, Aaron becomes furious and plots to kill her. Fortunately, Dean arrives just in time to assist and tackles Aaron to the ground. Subsequently, a fierce firefight erupts between Richie's group and Aaron's gang. Realizing the situation spiraling out of control, Lauren promptly contacted Susan to rush to the hospital. Meanwhile, Richie's group successfully eliminated Aaron's gang members one by one. Unfortunately, one of Richie's members sustained a gunshot to the hand and promptly received medical attention at the hospital. Shortly after, Dean attempts to rescue Lauren and escorts her away from the hospital. However, Aaron catches wind of this and takes her hostage, demanding Richie come out to meet him. Subsequently, Richie and his friends emerge from hiding, finding Aaron poised to shoot. From behind, Dean intervenes, thwarting Aaron's plan and causing his gun to rebound towards Richie. Richie seizes the gun but struggles to load bullets, with Aaron standing in front, aiming another gun at him. However, Aaron's gun has run out of ammo, rendering him unable to harm Richie. Simultaneously, Susan and several police officers arrived at the scene, swiftly shooting Aaron due to him posing a threat to Richie. Following the incident, Richie was observed lying in a hospital bed. Susan expressed her gratitude for Richie saving her daughter. A few days later, Richie threw a grand party at the club. During the event, he encounters Lizzie, who discloses her interest in him. However, when Richie proposes that she stay in Spain, Lizzie declines, expressing her reluctance to leave England. As the film concludes, Richie's friends appear disheartened by his departure to Spain, particularly after their efforts to avenge Charlie's death. Unexpectedly, Richie emerges behind his friends, who believed he had flown back to Spain in his private helicopter. Richie informs them that he chose to stay in England to live with them. In the film's closing scenes, Richie and his friends are depicted preparing to combat crime in London as a form of redemption for their past sins. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.